what we're going to discuss today is actually the real cost of being overinsured. So I've got Devin here with me, and we're actually going to run through a case study. So there's a real life client that we came across, and this is not a unique situation. It's something we see very, very often, and it really stems from the point of view that one of two things have happened up front. Either the client has been oversold, and that's a whole separate discussion. Alternatively, the client may have had the correct amount of cover put in place up front, but as their lives have progressed, the need for that cover has reduced. Devin can take us through this actual real life example that we're going to share with you.
The example we're going to run through today was a married couple aged 52 and 58 who approached us in a phase of their life where they were under a lot of financial stress and pressure. They said their cash flow management wasn't in a great place. They felt that they were underfunded for retirement and also had this massive risk insurance premium that they were paying, and they just weren't sure whether they needed it. So very, very simply, you can see on the slide over here, they were paying a combined total of 26,500 Rand per month for their risk insurance between the two of them. They had about 3.5 million Rand saved up, earmarked for retirement between each of their retirement annuities, and they were still indebted to the value of about 1 million Rand. So the first thing we did was clear that debt, leaving them with about 2.5 million Rand saved up, and then the next thing we needed to do was tackle this massive risk insurance premium that was costing them 26,500 Rand per month.
Yeah, so the point of departure when it comes to establishing how much risk cover one needs is really to start with the current rate of expenditure. So typically most people call that a budget. People hate the word budget because it implies constraint and tightening the belt and uncomfortable decisions that need to be made. But really what it is about is looking at what life is costing you and what it has perhaps cost you over the last 3, 6, 12 months. With a view to doing some scenario planning. Now, if you think of a dual income family, the scenarios that play out very simple. One of the parents pass away, one of the parents become disabled. Clearly, one of them passing away is less onerous on the family budget than one of them becoming disabled. So that stands to reason that one should have more cover in the event of disability than one should have in the event of death, something that is very often not the case that we find. So once we've gone through these scenarios, it's quite easy to establish how much cover someone needs. In this example, and as I've said before, we find many similar cases, it turned out that the client was hopelessly overinsured. The resultant savings from the cutback on the policies was about 16,500 Rand. Bearing in mind all this time, the client is still adequately covered to meet their objectives. In other words, maintain a similar standard of living right through to a very long life expectancy of somewhere between 90 and 100 years old. Obviously, the next step in the process is to say, well, what better use could we make of that 16,500 saving?
When you take post-tax spending, so what that means is obviously the clients had to earn an income, pay tax, and with this after-tax income now fund these life insurance premiums. With the 16,500 Rand per month saving that we're able to give the clients, with this being repurposed into retirement annuity savings. Remember, all contributions into a retirement annuity are tax deductible. So in this example, the husband, who was the primary breadwinner, was earning approximately 100,000 Rand gross per month, which gave him a marginal tax rate of 41%. So we were able to take the full after-tax savings, move it into a contribution into his retirement annuity, and ultimately give him a contribution of 28,000 Rand per month into his retirement annuity just by trimming down his life insurance premiums.
So with that information, obviously having no material impact on your cash flow, all we're doing is redirecting an overcontribution to life insurance, adding the tax back to that, and then investing that amount of 28,000, as Devon's mentioned, what benefit does that have to your long-term financial plan? Devon, I know you've run some scenarios. If you want to just share how much better off this client was, just rechanneling that money, not finding any new money in their budget, just rechanneling what they were already spending.
Yeah. What you're seeing on screen now is the retirement graph of the clients before we made any changes to their insurance policies and to their retirement annuity savings. So very simply, we've assumed that the clients need to spend about 40,000 Rand per month in retirement, and naturally we want to try and plan to have their funds last until age 100. However, you can clearly see in this scenario, given their current state, that their funds would only last a few years until the husband's age 74. Obviously not sufficient capital being put away into retirement annuities, because a large portion of their cash flow going into that big life insurance premium. This next slide that you're now seeing is the effects of the changes after trimming down on the insurance and repurposing those premiums into dedicated retirement annuity savings. And you can immediately see the massive difference that this makes to the client's retirement funding. Just these small, simple changes, we're able to add a further 9 years of retirement funding to the clients should they need to spend 40,000 Rand per month, lasting until the husband's age 83.
Just by rechanneling money that you've already got in your budget, you can make a massive, massive difference to your retirement planning. And this is given that we only got involved at a very late stage. This is only making these changes for the last 7 years leading up to that person's retirement. You know, one has to ask the question, had we got involved 20 years earlier and made these changes incrementally over time, how different their future would have looked. So very, very important to continually review your planning and just make sure that every decision you make, you understand that there's a consequence to that decision. So you might well feel you sleep better at night paying for excessive insurance that you would like your family to have. But if it's not necessary, what it's doing is detracting from your ability to save for retirement, which is the most likely sequence of events that is going to take place.